Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's time taking opportunity to join us today. I know spring training is underway. There's some baseball games and weather's mild, at least here in Washington, D.C. So we certainly appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. We wanted to provide you a little update on a few things happening in the life of Omniair. We'll welcome a couple of new members. We'll give a preview of our Florida Plug Fest that's coming up in early May, working group updates, and then I think what everyone's waiting for is our guest presentation from Manish Chourey, who is the Chief Technology Officer of the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. He will be, delving into the future of in-car payments, not just for tolling, but for all sorts of other things you might pay for in your car. There was a very interesting session that I know he and JJ Eaton helped together at CES, going over this with some really big players in the space, and we're really looking forward to his remarks. Okay, next slide. So just to mention for those who are not familiar with Omniair, we do have quite a broad cross-section of the ITS and tolling ecosystems here in the membership, everything from automotive OEMs to deploying agencies, research institutes, technology providers. I think that's one of the strengths of our certification programs. If you are not yet an Omniair member and are interested to learn more, please click on that QR code or just reach out to myself or one of the staff. Next, please. We would like to welcome 3 new members. We're kicking off the year with several members. I do not know if anyone is on the call from VVDN or VitaX Dynamics or the McCrary at Auburn University. Do we have anyone from those organizations? Well, let me just put.
Yeah,
go ahead.
we are very sorry to badger you. This side, Darshan and Subramaniam, we both are part of VVDN itself.
Yes, please. Just you're welcome to introduce yourself to the group and say a few remarks.
Yep. So, hi everyone. Very good morning. Darshan this side. I work as a research and development program manager in VVDN in the automotive segment. And yeah, Subramani, you can go ahead. Maybe you can put clarity on your profile.
Yeah. Hi, this is Subramaniam. So I'm working as a senior manager and the software in VVDN Technologies. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we are working for V2V projects. So that is why we need this Omniair certification. So this we came here for as a members. Yeah.
Well, and just for the group's edification, you do more than just VitaX. I'm reading on the website, you guys are doing quite a number of offerings. Maybe could you just talk broadly about VVDN for a second, and then your work in the connected vehicle space?
Yeah, actually, as a VVDN, we're working on like nearly 4 to 5 domains, different verticals we have. So like Wi-Fi and networking, then 5G. There's a 5G projects. Then some of them are in automotive projects. Some in vision that is camera-based project. Like there are different projects we are working on. So yeah, we are around like 6,000 people overall. We have branch in China, like mostly in India, and we have some sales office in US also. We have so as per in as part of I am from automotive BU, so we are working for an yeah, as I said, V2X project. So it is for an RSU. We are developing an RSU application. So that's what we are looking for here. So we want to develop an test application for this to verify our RFU application. Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you guys, and I think you might be our first member based in India. So we're very excited about that. I know a lot of exciting things are happening in the connected vehicle world in India, and so we look for some of your input and guidance on them. But welcome to the organization, and we look forward to having you work with us.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Is anyone here from VitaX Dynamics? So VitaX Dynamics is a Southern California-based VitaX startup. I know they have OBUs and RSUs, and they are interested in Omniair certification. They have joined the past couple of months, and we're excited to have them here, and hopefully they'll be on our next call. And McCrary Institute at Auburn University. Is anyone here from Auburn? This is very exciting for me. Auburn University, of course, everyone knows, just a fantastic university, great research institution, but the McCrary Institute is a really special organization. It is a think tank of sorts, focused on cybersecurity. It has one of the best cybersecurity daily newsletters that you will get, led by Frank Salufa, who's a friend that I've worked with in the past here in Washington, D.C. They do some really fascinating work, and I know that they're doing some VitaX security work, and they're looking forward to collaborating with us in our working groups. And I believe Jason Cuneo is the primary point of contact, and we welcome Auburn. Hopefully they'll be on the March call. Thank you. Next, please. So if anyone remembers fall of 2023, we did a virtual testing event for devices. It was a free event. It was very successful, and it was focused on SCMS interoperability and testing for IEEE 1609.2.1 compliance. And one of the goals, if you saw the national deployment plan from the U.S. Department of Transportation, is SCMS interoperability. It's something that we're working toward, and we're doing that in a standards-based approach. And so we have 4 of our SCMS or PKI providers who have agreed to participate in this event: ISS, Tech, Microsec, and AutoCrypt. Testing is going to take place the week of March 17th. We will be announcing tomorrow a small webinar that will feature SCMS providers, Omnier staff, as well as some persons from USDOT to talk about what this means and why the standard is important, why interoperability is important, and what we're trying to accomplish in this event. If you are a VitaX vendor and you are interested in participating, please reach out to us or one of the participating SCMS providers here. If you are interested in being part of it, we'll have a formal sign-up available during the webinar so that devices can pair up with these providers and do the testing virtually. There's no cost, no devices have to be shipped anywhere, all virtual, and I think testing sessions are about 30 minutes each, and they'll all take place during the week of March 17th. This will build up to our PlugFest. We'll do some more in-depth testing at the PlugFest in March, and we're cooperating with the Federal Highway Administration on this as well. Next, please. So one of the things that we do in addition to certifying devices is that we qualify test systems. We audit test tools that are used for testing as part of our certification program, but also by agencies that are deploying these technologies, or OEMs or others. And when a device has made it through that audit, and we know that we can validate that test system is able to perform a certain number of our tests, we issue a certificate of qualification. And the latest test tool to earn that is from Iteris. Do we have Frank Provenzano or anyone from Iteris on the call today? Well, I know that they are working on a press release right now. They're so excited about it. We're very excited to have Iteris with yet another qualified test tool. They will be participating in PlugFest in Florida. You'll have a chance to utilize that tool. It is, I understand, a sniffer tool, but with just a really great user interface. And so it's able to visualize some of the things that you might have had to pull out of Wireshark before. So really, really excited about that. Congratulations to Iteris. Next, please. And speaking of Florida, we have open registration for our Omniair Florida PlugFest. This is our 15th Omniair PlugFest. It's hard to believe. We do these twice a year. This one we are doing at SunTrax in Auburndale, Florida. We were there just a little less than 2 years ago, and we had a fantastic experience. It is a world-class test facility, 475 acres, designed for tolling testing, automated vehicle testing, connected vehicle testing. They have an urbanized test environment. They have an absolutely enormous test oval. It is a on-the-air authorized field test facility for tolling. And they also have geometry testing. And we intend to utilize a lot of different parts of the facility. Setup is going to be May 5th and 6th. We'll be doing our bench testing the 7th through the 9th. On the 12th, we'll have a workshop. We'll be doing a call for speakers coming out on that. And then the balance of that week, we're partnering with Federal Highway Administration for some interoperability testing between the early deployers. So you'll see some states, cities, and counties that are early deployers of V2X doing that testing, and Omnier will be supporting that. So I think this is a great opportunity for some gating testing. If you're interested in being part of that event, they really want to make sure that those devices meet a certain minimum performance and interoperability level. And then you can get that at the Plugfest, and you can get some then good exposure to the state DOTs. And the second thing that's happening, and we'll have another announcement on this, is there will be a deployment zone at the ITS World Congress in Georgia in August. And devices are applying through ITS America to be part of that deployment zone. Those devices will then undergo a certain minimal testing to make sure that they're interoperable and meet certain performance requirements. And that testing is taking place at this Plugfest. So there are many reasons to come to Florida, and Florida's just an awesome place, just great people. We had a great partnership with Florida DOT last time and University of Florida, and we're really looking forward to it. I know Ryan has been lining up test stations, so labs and test tools, and they'll be reaching out to the device vendors soon. Next, please. So I mentioned the event schedule. Here it is. If you want to take a screenshot of that, we have more information on our website and our Eventbrite. And very importantly, that we do have early bird pricing for members, and that is really $1,000 discount off of the test team prices. So it's a huge discount, and really want people to sign up early and take advantage of that. So here's the date for you to remember. Next, please. Oh, here's a little picture of some of the fun that we had last time. We'll be back using some of the same facilities, just a great event. But that date coming up. There we go. March 15th is traditionally the Ides of March. So beware the Ides of March. That is the end of early bird pricing. Click on the QR code to register now and take advantage of that. And we look forward to seeing you in Florida. So we have within Omniair a number of working groups that are doing an amazing amount of things to help advance interoperability and certification for connected vehicles and tolling. There's so much to do. I asked Randy to give me the 5 things he's accomplished in the past month, and he has about 30. So I'm going to ask him to summarize what the working groups have been up to as much as he can. I'll turn the floor over to him, and then we will introduce our guest speaker. Mr. Roebuck, the floor is yours, sir.
Hello, this is Randy. We in 30-day review, we've had 3 documents that's completed that review, which is the 763, the 767, and the 768. The 762 is still in review and should be completed here shortly. In the VDAX Technical Working Group, Jason, these are last month's slides. I'll go through it. I remember. So we went through in the technical working group. We just had presentations from NEMA TS10, and it just released, and now it's called TS 40010. We do have presentations coming up the next 3 working groups. One on March the 11th is Wadey's will be giving a Korea standards presentation. And then on the 25th, Spirent Test Tools is returning to PlugFest after a couple of years being absent. Then on April the 8th, Keysight will be given their VDAX tool test set. The 748 UCAM is in 14-day ballot, about ready to close, and it will go to 30-day ballot and the board for approval. And we're also recommending the GitHub open source listing. We did present and approve the public source GitHub administration and approval process. And people haven't been around, the FCC's final VDEX rule and order became effective October 13th. And they did send out a public notice on February 11th for the VDEX licensing. So if you have some questions about that, you can go to that public notice. Then we've also reviewed the 2025 certification needs and acceleration pilots grants feedback. Under cybersecurity, we reformatted the certificate generation instruction 748, which is version 8.2.1. The draft was sent to the SCMS providers, and we'll be finalizing that in the next meeting on March the 4th. Jason already mentioned virtual SCMS testing kickoff. For details, I'll be going to attending the next cybersecurity meeting on March the 4th for the activities here in March. We're definitely looking for device participation, and we're also leveraging our test tool feedback. Next slide. Hey, Jason, can you give me sharing capability?
Kendra should be able to do that. Kendra, can you give Randy a sharing capability?
He has capabilities to share.
Randy, can you figure it out?
It says you cannot start the screen while other participants are sharing.
You should be good.
Okay. Now it's giving me the screen to do it, so I'll go ahead and do it here. Okay. On the PlugFest technical preparation, we had been at a monthly cadence, and since we're getting closer to PlugFest, we'll need to go to a 2-week cadence. The device and test stations capability forms were sent and requested by March the 3rd, which is this Monday. We will have bench testing conformance focused on the LTE PC5. We'll definitely be doing radio configurations for both the 2022 and the 2024 radio config version. And for the first time, we've been asked to go try identity certs. We also are doing device evaluation for the following interoperability in the ITS World Congress, Atlanta, which Jason mentioned, and we're also pursuing some network VDEX technology introduction and demonstration at Suntrax. In the connected instruction, the 772, we're proceeding forward in that document, and we're also doing some test case updates in the 785-1218. Application testing, we're really focusing on what's going to be done at PlugFest. So we're reviewing those test cases and be complementary moving into the interoperability space. In the aftermarket device, the J35 ballot is going through comments resolution. They just held their monthly membership meeting this morning, and there will be a walkthrough for the comments resolution on that here in March, and we're looking to get prepared to take that document. And we believe we have just a few test cases. We have to do some minor modifications and possibly a few new test cases in order to be able to move forward in that. On the certifications policy, Lori Brady took over as the chair, had her first meeting last. We're looking at continuing the device profile discussion and helping her to go to the next steps where we're looking and making sure our certification process is up to date and evolves as needed. In the tolling and emerging testing space, they're starting the back up on the 822 tag programming specification led by Jennifer Donnelly of EasyPass. We have opened up the 810 environmental test specs to incorporate the TS10 and the TS4 corporations. They did change their numbering where they add 4000 to all their numbering schemes here recently, but most people know it by TS10 and TS4. Road user charging, we had presentations from Geotech last month, and this coming up month or next week, CDM Smith will be presenting in the RUC. And I'll stop sharing here.
Thank you, Randy. Awesome. So I mentioned lots going on. Glad we were able to get the slides resolved. And of course, as always, if you want to roll up your sleeves, get involved to help us with any of our many working groups, you can click on the QR code or just reach out to my colleague Brikenda, and she will get you signed up. And if the time zones don't work for you for most of our meetings, we do have SharePoints and chat boards and other things where people stay engaged. So we do have a special treat for you today. We have a guest speaker, Manish Chourey, who is the Chief Technology Officer. Oh, starting my video. So we have Manish Chourey, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. He has many years of experience in the tolling space. He's doing a lot of really innovative things. If anyone was at CES in Las Vegas this year and you saw future of in-car payments, that was something that Manish and his team really helped architect. It's a fantastic discussion about where we go next. RFID has been used sort of the backbone of electronic toll collection for a very long time, but things are changing. There are a multiplicity of possible technologies out there, and Manish and the folks in North Carolina are really taking a leadership position and looking at that. And so I thought, I can't think of anyone better to lead us into what's next than Mr. Chourey. Are you able to join us and turn your camera on? Fantastic, sir. Floor is yours.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, all good. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. So just to give you a background of myself, I've been 30 plus years in the IT software programming in the programming arena, of which 25 plus years have been in the tolling domain. Majority of my focus has been in design and development of transaction processing systems. I've worked as a systems integrator, as a solution architect and a senior director of development activities, deployed systems across the US. And for last 6 years, I've been working with North Carolina Turnpike Authority as a CTO for toll operations. Just for a background, North Carolina Turnpike Authority has been leading a decade of innovations So you can start see 2011 NC QuickPass was founded, and it was the first system which we had went completely AET, and then subsequent in 2014, being where North Carolina is in the country, we had east and northeast and southeast, two different protocols between the transponders acting as a bridge. In 2014, we became the first agency to do dual protocol reads for both for TDM and SIGO. And leading the charge in 2017, we became the first tolling agency to read all the three protocols. And essentially, when I say all the three protocols, it's TDM, SIGO, and 6E. That was deployed in 2017. 2019, taking us continuing further, we established a vision for our service-based architecture, uh, which is a platform which we would develop and deploy it in a cloud environment. This happened in 2023. Deployed the system using APIs. More of APIs allowed us to do responsive web, mobile apps, and open up Google Pay, Apple Pay sort of things. Continuing in 2024, more on the roadside, we deployed one of our recent deployments, which is a 17-mile, three-lane, two-shoulder roadway with no in-pavement sensors, and have been now in production for almost 5 to 6 months, and we have been doing very well with that approach. And also, during this deployment, as you know, in any greenfield project, the fiber takes the longest to get in place. So we did include our solution to support via 5G while the fiber gets laid down. So try to do different things in our environment as to keep ourselves moving forward. On the right side, you see Raleigh area and the Charlotte area, two different areas where most of our tolling right now is focused, and we are growing through more in our state. Turnpike established its vision and strategy in over three pillars. The first pillar was to build a service-oriented open API-based platform with loosely coupled architecture, just to allow us to plug and play different best of breed technologies as we can, and also enable us to deploy technology faster. And just the reasoning behind that is, today the tolling system refresh takes a longer time, and with where the industry has gone, and Apple, Android, they all can deploy software every year, and so the question comes is, why can't we do it and keep up with the technology? So that was one of the reasons we built the open API platform. The purpose-driven future we see is that increase our payment options, always looking for alternates to increase our penetration with customers. And also, during this process, when we did this, we allowed mobile app payments as an alternate for our customers. Also, with upcoming issues which you all understand about the spectrum in the needs of the spectrum by other commercial usage, and also for safety and GPS backup capabilities, there is a threat to our tolling industry with regards to, or any industry which uses RFID. And so that's going to happen, and technology is going to change. So we got to be prepared to do that. So we continue to look at those options. And third is being ourselves being have the ability to manage and look at our data. We believe in having the knowledge of our data helps us do better operational decisions. And so with our roadside or back office, we have been able to extract the data into our semantic models using Power BI for visualization. And at present, we as NCTA have been able to get the data and use the data for our reconciliation and compliance perspectives. Um, this we had as NCTA was opening up a 17-mile roadway, as I mentioned, three-lane, two-shoulder expressway in September 2024. An incident occurs where I would play this. You can see that. This is our toll gantry. This is a dump truck comes with a bad up, hits the gantry, and this is 6 weeks before we cut over to our new roadway. We reached out to multiple vendors across the tolling systems and said, could you provide us a solution so that we can collect revenue from day one? I mean, this was a location where we had over 15,000 transactions per day. This, on the other side of the view, this really happened. And that just told us that we have to be prepared for these type of incidents, accidents, disasters, hurricanes, anything which can happen. And we have to find alternate ways to collect our revenue. We deployed a system. Within 6 weeks, we had an emergency contract, and we deployed a solution with side fire cameras. And we've been collecting over 15,000 transactions since day one, and we avoided losing revenue. So NCTA has a vision about digital platform. And what does that mean to us? It's a platform which you see in the center, which acts like a Apple TV. You should be able to have the basic things, which are like, you should have a network, power connectivity, sort of basic things. And then you should be able to add and remove or upgrade any of the apps which you need. So that's what I say is what I consider our digital platform, and should be built with open APIs. As you can see in this particular incident which occurred, we had to have the ability to process our revenue transactions without losing them, and have the ability to plug and play was one of the key things. In this particular incident, I had 2 specific toll vendors who helped us both getting the transactions captured from the lane and route those transactions to our back office system to collect revenue. This is where I see ourselves continuing to mature and transition over periods of time, whether it's connected vehicles in car, payments, whether we have payment apps coming up, all of these, or V2X solutions which coming up, they should all be capable of talking to us. And as in tolling agency, we are the middleware or any hubs. They can collect the transactions and route to specific back offices, service provider back offices, or to payment gateways. And the primary goal of this platform is to continuously evolve with the annual enrollment in investment capabilities and transition new features every 6 to 9 months. Just giving you a little bit flavor of different APIs one has to build to make this platform work. We have to have standardizations across the different APIs, whether it's roadside system interfaces, interfacing to payment gateways, interfacing to service provider OEMs, DMV lookups, and also ability to do self-service from the customer perspective. So lots of different APIs need to be built to allow these capabilities. So, as Jason mentioned, in this year, January 2025, JJ Eden, our executive director, more known for being as the industry disruptor and innovator, presented an alternate payment option at the Consumer Electronics Show in CES. That particular had steam panels from transportation industry, retailer industries, and payment system providers. This panel primarily discussed solutions which are developed with different car manufacturers and how it could integrate with the payment networks. All use cases were related to in-car payments. In the ones which we enjoyed most is the tolling use cases, but also there were retail use cases. It's like more like when you're on a drive and you could have your spouse or a person in the passenger vehicle spend their time doing in-car shopping. And when you do shopping, which payments to use in sort of integration of the app in the car apps to the payment gateway was of interest. And obviously, that comes with what's the security and how do you authenticate customers or individuals. So there were solutions which were put in for biometric authentications, and these were all working solutions. There were vendors providing those, especially the payment guys like Mastercard, Visa, JP Morgan, and so on. So these were working solutions capable of doing that. And so the question comes is, how do we use that in our tolling use case? When we finished the presentation, CEO of a large car wash company came in and said, hey, how can we come into and get the benefit of this abilities? So these are things which are possible. And so the one which these two pilots which we are thinking of working on, one is the in-car app for toll payments, and I say in-car app is different than a mobile app. This is an in-car app running on the OS of the car OS. And then how can the V2X has lots of different use cases, and what we're looking at is how can it help in toll payments as we evolve. So one of the approach which we presented is the in-car payment enrollment option. So you go and buy a car. Now most of the folks enroll themselves into the data service which is provided. So right there you can enroll yourself with a car. I mean, there are different solutions in car. I mean, there are ITM devices which are also available in car. But then there is apps which can be available. So there are lots of different options. But think of the approach is that you have an approach where you go. In this particular case, the customer goes, enrolls themselves. The enrollment happens is the place where you enter your customer information, your vehicle ID, your license plate information. Sometimes license plate may not be there at that time when you're buying the car. So the VIN ID is one which is pretty common at the time when you're buying a car. The relationship here which happens is that relationship then ties to a payment. And that payment information is on this website or app or mobile app, wherever you would use an app, website app, not in the car, outside the car. Car industry in our discussions did not want to get involved in the PCI and other related compliance issues. So it's thought of a website. And from a website, you would go into a payment gateway where you're tying the VIN ID or the license plate to a payment token. And that token resides just at the payment gateway. It never leaves that place. Once the customer enrolls successfully, the manufacturer knows that the car is enrolled. And so here, in this particular case, Turnpike would know that the car is enrolled. In this then what happens when the car goes through the roadway? The payment gateway or middleware acts as the credit card processor for these payments, right? And that's the repository. Payment gateway is the only person which knows how your vehicle is connected or linked to the credit card or your payment token. In nobody, neither the car app, neither the tolling agency knows anything about the credit card. It's completely isolated. So all transactions, when you travel through the car app, there are challenges with that, right? So do we want data? I mean, there's cost to the data. So in this particular pilot, which we are working on, is that we would do in a batch fashion. When the trip completes, the car app provider using the geolocation is going to generate a transaction and send it to the payment gateway. Payment gateway will in turn would not know the toll amount, could be dynamic toll amounts, could be different time of day pricing. They would send information asking us what the toll amount is. We will then package that transaction for payment with the toll amount. If the transaction gets approved, we mark that transaction as in-car paid transaction. That transaction then is sent to our back office system where the customer may have account or is enrolled, and the transaction gets posted. If the payment fails, our existing enforcement methods will process the transactions and move forward. So while this has all happened in January, while we were also being reached out and approached by multiple vendors, roadside vendors, interested in seeing how V2X can work in the tolling environment. And so we feel that the pilot, we have two specific assets available for us, and one in Charlotte, one in Raleigh area, to provide this ability to do this validation, V2X for tolling. Primarily the first phase, there are two phases we are thinking. Phase one would be to do the demonstration of the V2X just with standalone between the RSE and RSE or RSU and OBU, have that interface validated. And the second phase of that would be how we could use the how we could use this, incorporate into a toll gantry to make sure that it becomes the third way of payment. Either it's a transponder or it's a plate based, or it could be a OBU in the car marked for in-car payment. Also in this particular interface, we would have to build interfaces with the service provider, whosoever is the service provider, to reconcile our transactions. At the end of it, as an agency, we are interested in being sure that all the traffic which went through the gantries, we are able to collect the money for it. And if not, we enforce through our regular methods. Just during this stage one of this capabilities, we will ensure like the existing gantry, zone controller, RSUs can communicate and talk to each other to perform multiple tests. This is pretty high level at this time. I don't think we have got to the next level of details related to this, but that's something which we are working on and will continue to work on. As this pilot might take a little longer versus the car app pilots might be something which we plan on completing this year. Most likely quarter 4 of this year, and this might go into next year. Doing stage one, we might be able to do that, and stage 2 will be where we involve these transactions for actually making payments with our back office and reconcile with a service provider, whosoever the service provider's back office would be. So the question comes is why are we looking for alternate payment options? as I initially mentioned, that uh, disasters or incidents or accidents can happen at any given time. You should be nimble and able to find alternate ways to collect revenue. And now after doing that, I get a lot of questions: is why do you need gantries? Why can't you just deploy this solution? So yeah, so that's as a tolling agency, our mission is to uh, focus on collecting tolls, reduce the infrastructure at any possibility, and be able to evolve with the technology. Uh, so that I see from the agency perspective. But from a customer perspective, we meet the customer where they need the options. We avoid the other option in this space is by having phone apps versus a car app is different. Uh, just it avoids multiple apps, all the other use cases within the car, how many customers, and people can type plate numbers incorrectly or so on, versus a digital information coming from in-car app or in-car data. We have the unique vehicle ID or the VIN ID, whatever would be the method. We would be able to get those transactions in a digitalized format. And there's the use cases of somebody disabling that or a Bluetooth not working. Those all use cases get subsequently simplified. I'm sure there will be new use cases coming out, which we'll have to work through. But at this time, we're going to do these two pilots to see what works best for us. And security from the customer perspective, you wouldn't have any card information in the car or in the apps, in the mobile apps. It's all secured within a gateway provided by larger payment processors. Or if there is a tolling agency who wants to do it as themselves as a gateway, they could do that as well. So we're trying to prove the pilots, and we see that there is a potential that these pilots can give us alternate payment options. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see that there's some questions in the chat. Did you answer those questions already, live answer, or can we answer those right now before we let you go?
Yeah, we could. Yes, I have not looked at the questions.
Yeah, Manish, why don't you put your camera on? We'll have a little chat here, and we'll
His
go
camera's
through.
on.
Okay.
Mine camera is on. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I thought that was a fantastic presentation. It's really interesting. I always find it interesting when we have presentations about not just about what maybe we think we might want to do, but what agencies are actually doing and putting their money where their ideas are. So I see we already have some questions in the chat box. Encourage anyone else who has other questions to enter those in. I'm going to just start with a basic one. So, Manish, I was remiss in giving the sort of overview of your storied career, but as I recall our conversation, you started life back at Lockheed Martin or Lockheed IMS,
That's
and
correct.
hoping to architect some of the earliest electronic toll collection, the origins of EasyPass and interoperability, and you've been thinking about these problems for a while. And it's always been curious to me. Tolling has remained focused on RFID transponders for quite some time. Yet in other areas of transportation, we've had this. I think it's been almost 15 years now. This explosion of other options for mobile payments, from bike share to sort of peer-to-peer car rentals, micro mobility options, rideshare, Uber, all that. And why do you think it's taken so long in the tolling space to have folks doing exactly what you're doing?
I mean, I would say it's two primary reasons. In the tolling, we have contracts and investments which are long-term investments. So typically, you get the contracts; those are 8 to 10 years, 11 years. So it's a little difficult for the agencies to move forward. And the second is the RFID has been a good solution, and we have a large AVI penetration across the country. So, and it's the cheapest way of collecting money today. With the transponders now for 30 cents, 37 cents, it's hard to beat that. But when the scenarios like I mentioned, where we had a gantry completely collapsed due to an accident or a hurricane or disasters can happen. And the other one, which we all know, next steps need to take the spectrum. And there is both the groups, tolling groups and the other groups are trying to, hold on to the spectrum. So,
well, I think, in the connected vehicle world, we experienced that not very long ago with the Wi-Fi industry really looking to take a piece of the spectrum and this tussle between DSRC and C-V2X. But I'm watching what's happening with NextNav, and I'm saying to myself, even if tolling industry prevails today, that there's a shrinking pool of spectrum, and those fights are just going to continue, I think. So thinking about it and doing something like you are is, I think, incredibly wise and important. Well, let's get the ball with some of these questions. I know that Lev Pinellas had a pretty good question. Hopes the future of tolling technology can be connected vehicle based, but actual prospects have been unclear. How do we move towards a CV tolling application in our industry? What do you think is the most promising development?
For the, I think the pilot which we are working on from the car industry and the payment gateway shows bigger players. Tolling agency is a very small group of people and agencies. Having the commercial large companies investing into the technology and solutions will help the CV-based solutions. I mean, a lot of the phone-based systems and even the XM, Cyrus XM, and other solutions which came up, it's difficult if you don't have a big business model. And so having larger payment options in the car industry can open up not just for tolling, as you heard that there were retail options. You could go to drive-through food, and those type of models will enable it. Otherwise, the business model is very difficult to sustain. And if the customer has an option to get it for free, why would they pay additional 80 cents or $1 for toll? So I think that's one. Second one, I would say, is just the solutions which have been so far has been more mobile phone based, which has a use cases, struggling use cases, versus if the car industry is going to open it up, including the RSUs which they are going to work on, or work on the apps which are inbuilt, which we all use in the cars. I think it's going to change the business model.
I think it's really fascinating. The origins of Omnier in the tolling industry, in part because it was long viewed that connected vehicle technology would be a communications option for tolling, and it's sad that it's taken this long, but I'm excited about the work you guys are doing. So Jeff has a really interesting question. I think you touched on this briefly in your presentation, but talking about standards and protocols, what standard is this going to be? A standards-based approach? What standards will be referenced in the tolling pilot? And I know you mentioned one there, but maybe give some thoughts on that.
I mean, we are definitely looking at the SAE standards for J3217 spec, which has been laid down. We are still understanding, and I mean, it's a pretty high level specifications. Then you got to dig in further on what's the other additional information which we need. I mean, we've been looking at how do you handle the occupancy information? How do you handle other related information into the specifications? And maybe the specifications has it, but I think we are working to simplify our understanding of the specification so we can really find its commercial use or applicability to our solutions.
Well, I think it's exciting. I know that our RUC working group has a Tiger team focused on the J3217/R standard, and so I think the J3217 and thinking about how this is applied in the tolling space is going to be really important. How do we test for that? Something we're thinking about. Mr. Catalico has a question about transactions paid through the app match to the toll violations at Lane. And he's referencing a pilot they have in Illinois. I don't know if Michael, you wanted to ask the question yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I kind of put it in sketchy area. When you showed, hey Manish, when you showed your schema, your ecosystem of that app talking to the gateway back to the back office, I wasn't clear on what's actually matching. So there's nothing in the lane, right? It's a GPS based app, I assume. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
you're
right.
getting some timestamps, some GPS coordinates. The gateway says, here's a payment. Did you develop a corresponding matching so that A, you don't double bill the customer, and B, you don't absorb those costs of trying to go down the path to double bill them. So
yeah, I mean, so Mike, Win ID is one thing which we are capturing as we slowly transition, but also we are going to, using the Win ID, we're working through DMV to get the name, the plate number associated with that vehicle. That plate number then allows us to do any kinds of duplicate checks or checks to avoid that enforcement transaction which comes from the roadside.
so the app is transmitting the VIN just like a telematics type. It's part of the message set. Okay,
that's correct.
like
That's
that.
correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Very similar to what we're doing.
Good.
Identical to it, but in a lot of ways. But
We got two agencies. Maybe we have the makings of interoperability. Maybe there's some cooperation happening. Wanted to see if there are any other questions. Anyone have their hand up that I'm not seeing or that want to weigh in before? I know we're at the top of the hour, but going once, going twice. Well, let me close with one more question. It's a slightly off topic, but at the Transportation Research Board annual meeting in January, your Secretary of Transportation, Joey Hopkins, came in and gave a really poignant presentation and played some videos about the recovery effort and the rebuilding in Western North Carolina from the hurricane. I know that was just last fall, but one of the remarks he made was, they've done an incredible amount of work, but there's $5 billion worth of damage. And it just was stunning for me to hear. And I just wanted to see if you had any sort of anything you'd like to share with what's happening in the recovery effort and what we in the transportation community can do to help.
I think the efforts still continue to go through. I mean, we have not completely recovered, as you know. We just recently, the grocery shops or the other mom and pop shops are just opening up now. So they just got started getting water and so on. So it's been a real tough things which we don't even think about in today's world. So they have been recovering. I mean, from transportation perspective, we did have, I believe, I-40 is now kind of opened with 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes, and they continue to work through that. I think as a whole, we had a lot of support from multiple state agencies, neighboring state agencies, and I think the work continues to go on. I can say only that, and I think all of your prayers are helpful, and anything in which we can do, if things come in front of you, definitely reach out and help.
Well, you know that the people of Western North Carolina and entire land of the longleaf pine, our prayers and thoughts are with you guys. And I just wanted to thank you for an excellent presentation, and I'm sure we'll have follow-up questions, and really excited about the future of tolling down there.
Thank you.
And thank you all for taking the time to join us. Sorry, we went a little bit over and that we had a little mishap with some of the working group slides, but we really appreciate your time and joining us, and hope to see you on a future working group call, and especially hope to see you in Florida for our Plug Fest in May. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you.